Okay, this is how to do sub-Q fluids for your pet using the syringe method. You have your bag of fluids here. Notice there's no lines here. Those lines are only needed for when you use the bag drip method. You don't need this. So when you buy fluids from your vet, just request the bag. It's much cheaper this way as well. In Canada, it's about $11 for a bag of fluids. Then your needles. So you start with the 18 gauge. I use Teramo, that's kind of common. You can use any brand. 18 gauge 1 inch. This is strictly for withdrawing the fluid from the bag into the syringe. Then you have your 23 gauge. This is a winged infusion set, also made by Teramo. This is to help when you're giving the fluids to your pet. You don't have to worry about holding the syringe completely still. You can put this in and then there's cabling so they can rest, and you can move and do different syringes if you want. If you need more than one syringe in a sitting, which in my case I do 4 syringes. Then you have the syringes themselves. This is the BD 50 cc's or 50 milliliters. They come in 60s as well, and make sure you get the ones with the lure lock on the end. I will link everything after in the comments or in the description. Then you got your cap. This is a lure lock cap, syringe tip. Syringe tip cap. Also made by BD. These I just got online. Almost all of this I got online. The only thing I got from my vet is the fluids. And actually, I get the needles through my vet as well. But you can get those online as well. They're just the same price or cheaper at my vet. So I get all this through my vet. And then I get the syringe online and the tips. And this is Tegaderm film. Now this film is used to, once you put the Zensa skin cream, which I haven't mentioned yet, this is the numbing cream that you'll want to use so your pet does not feel the needle. Lots of vets don't mention this when telling new clients about sub-Q fluids, but I think it's very important because you don't want your pet to fear this process. You want it to be as normal as going out for a walk or going for a pee or getting some water. So they just know it's time to lay down and get their procedure done. This Tegaderm film, like I said, we'll open it up here just to show you. We'll peel off, and you have the clear side and this just the paper. And once you put the cream on about a dime size spot, you will just put this on top. Now I do recommend cutting the hair on your pet. You don't have to shave it. Some vets will tell you have to shave it. You don't need to shave it. All you need to do is have it about a centimeter or less, ideally. The only reason is for when you're taking the film off your pet, the shorter the hair, the easier it comes off, and you'll notice this trial and error yourself. Also, it's a little easier on the pet if it's not completely shaved, just so it's not have a big cold spot there. You can shave it if you want. I used to do that. Now I just leave it fairly short, and that's for dogs who need to be groomed, basically. Some of the shorter hair dogs that shed, you may not need to shave them or trim them because they this will come off a lot easier. With their hair tends to be a little greasier than the other pets. And just remember, always pull down with the grain of the fur, not up when you're taking it off. Just like you would a Band-Aid, go with the grain. And then we have the alcohol pads. Now, we'll just start up here. I just take a pad and I just wipe the tip. This is where you're going to be putting in the needle. I just wipe the tip because I reuse this bag over and over until the bag is empty. Then you get your syringe and your 18 gauge needle, if I could find it here. So you just open it up. And what I do is I'll leave this packaging just to the side here because I have 4 syringes. I put the little tips in there while I'm doing all the rest. So you just take the 18 gauge, spin it in here, pull this out. Then you have your needle, and you just go in the center here. You go straight down. It'll go in easy. Just make sure you're not catching the walls. So you want to go in and on a straight angle because you don't want to catch the walls of the tubing there. And then you just pull out the amount you want. Now I forgot to take the air out of this. For some reason they ship the syringes with a little bit of space between the rubber and the end of the syringe. Normally I push that out before I take the amount. So you want to go to whatever amount you want. In this case, I'll just go to 50. A lot of times I bring it all the way to the top. That gives you an extra almost 20 mils. So if you're in between mils on your syringes, you can get an extra 20 here, depending on how many mils your dose is. So then you just take that out, take the cap, put the cap on. Then I take my syringe tip, which I should have opened ahead of time, so I'm not holding so many different things. Probably should have cut my nails a little better too. And so then what I would do is I push out the air. So you'll see, if I can get this. See the air there? I just push it out so there's no air left. Then I put the top on. That way you reduce the amount of bubbles that are going to be in there. If there's a little bubble, that's okay. You see there's a little bubble. You're going to be doing syringing into your pet like this, so the bubble's going to go to the top anyway, but I just like to take as much air as possible out there. So if you were going to do more syringes, you would just repeat that. Like I said, once you have your syringes and say you've already done one, and so you've done one use out of the syringe, you can reuse these 3 to 4 times before you should replace them. So that's why I have this little tray there that I put that in when I'm doing this for taking the fluids out, and I can just go like that and use that. Okay, now I will show you, actually, so there's a heating pad here you might have noticed, or you might have noticed there's some sort of pad here. So what I do is I have this heating pad is just a regular heating pad. I use it at heat setting 1, which is a very low setting. It's just about body temperature, a little higher. You don't want to go much higher than your body temperature. You don't want to have the plastic increased, the temperature increased too much, because then there's the worry that the plastic chemicals in the plastic might seep into your fluids. Now, I don't know if this is something you need to worry about, but I've been doing this for about 5 years, no problems. I used to just take these and put them under my arms. You can warm them up that way. If you only have 1 or 2 that you have to do, you can easily just put these under your armpits and hold them there for 20 minutes, half an hour, or put them down the sides of your pants. Basically, you just want to have the fluids as close to body temperature as possible, so when you give it to your pet, it's not a big shock to their system. That's the biggest mistakes I think people do, and why dogs will squirm and fight is they don't use the numbing, is people don't use numbing cream and they don't warm up the fluids. Those two things are the most important things, other than not getting air in the lines as well, because that, although it's not detrimental to the pet, if you get some air under the skin, it could be a little painful for them, but it will go away. So we're going to open these up. This is now transition. So, oh, I forgot about this. So yeah, so I just warm these up like that. I roll them up, or just roll them over like that. I have a little thermometer. Now you don't need this. I just happen to have this for my pet. It's an ear thermometer, so you can use it to test. It's going to say low because it's not hot yet. But once it gets around body temperature, this will work, and you can just take the temperature just to see what temperature is that. You don't really need this. You can just tell by holding it with your hand if it's warm enough, really. Body temperature. Dogs' body temperatures are a little warmer than humans, not by much, a few degrees. So as long as you get it in the ballpark and it's not freezing, that's all that really matters. Okay, so once I usually do that for about half an hour. I roll it up in these. Again, when I was only doing 2 or 3 of these, I was just putting it on my skin and putting it against my skin, warming it up that way. Now that there's 4 of them, I use the heating pad just because it's easier, and I can, walk around and not have 4 syringes attached to me. So then we're going to go to the part where we take the butterfly needle. Now, it's also known as winged infusion set, as I said earlier. You just take this. Now, these caps, for some reason, are on here pretty darn tight, and I have some problems with it. So just a warning, it's not terrible. You just screw it off, but I find they're on very tight for some reason, the Teramo brand. So now you have that, and you're going to want to put the tip on here, but you see there's a little bit of air there. So what I do, I'm going to have to tilt this up a bit, is I will make sure that I tap that air bubbles in the middle now, and I will push the fluids through, and you'll see that bit bubble just went through the other end. So now I've primed this cable, and now you will see there's no air in here. Also, when you get up to your pet, even if you're doing this and you're walking to another area, right before you put this into your pet, you're going to want to push a little bit of fluid out, just to make sure there's no air bubbles in that. Again, it's not detrimental, but it's the best practice to make sure there's no air in that. So then you will pull that out and put it into your pet in a tenting manner. Now I didn't show you this, so I'll show you this quickly. Basically I'll just do it on myself, but you'll put the cream there, about a dime size like that. Then you'll take your Tegaderm film, put it over here like that. Okay. Then you'll notice on this Tegaderm film there are little winged edges here. So you just pull these edges up like that. And there you go. And then you can leave that on your pet for, if you're using Zensa cream, they say 10 minutes. I do 15 just to be safe. If you're using EMLA cream, some parts of the world, they don't sell Zensa, I don't think. EMLA's pretty much the standard EMLA cream, and it's also a lidocaine cream. It's 2.5%. This is 5%. So this goes for about 15 minutes. The EMLA cream, you have to leave on for about 45 minutes. That's another negative about the EMLA. Also, EMLA is double the price. In Canada, this is about $45, $47 for this tube. Now, that is expensive, but you're only using a little bit. So just think about how often you replace your toothpaste. It's not that often. The shorter your hair on your pet, the less you can use. If you shave it, you don't even have to use this much. You can use just a little dab, as long as it covers the area. So the shorter the hair, the less you would have to use this. EMLA is about $80 here in Canada, so it's quite expensive. EMLA is the older product. It's been around for a long time. Zense is new. A pharmacist told me that this is much better, much more effective. Also, it's a water base, so it comes off much easier. EMLA cream is a little greasier, so it's kind of annoying to wipe away. So what I'll do here is I'll pull this off me, and I'll probably scream because all my hair. So what you want to do is you just want to get the edge there like that, enough that you can, I use my fingernail just to pull down a little bit. Also, that this, when you have this on, you don't have to take this off. You can leave this on when you put it on your pet. If they're laying still, sometimes I'll just leave it on. If you're gonna do this and then they're gonna go walk around, I'll take it off just so they don't really feel this at all. But it is easier to take it off when this is still attached. You don't have to, but you can do it either way. It's just easier to take it off when it's still attached. So you'll rip it down quickly like that, down towards the tail. The hair grows that way. Now then you'll take your, you'll take, what I do is I use toilet paper. You can use paper towel or Kleenex. And I usually take about 6 squares. So then you have this when you're gonna go do your fluids. So some of these are to wipe the cream off the pet. Some of these are to hold after you pull the needle out, just like you would if you were going to give blood. Just so it doesn't bleed too much. Also, I use 23 gauge on my dog. A lot of people will use a lower gauge. I like 23 because it's a fairly small needle. It's a little harder to push out the fluids, but the smaller the needle, the less chance of bleeding you'll have. And it's a less of a hole on your pet. So I like that. It is a little harder to push if you'll, I'll show in a second, but it's a little harder to push. You can do 21 is kind of 21 gauge times 1 inch or 3/4 inch is probably what most people do. I like 23. I think for the smaller pets, under 30 pounds, it's for me it's ideal. I bounce between 21 and 23. Much less bleeding with the 23. So you're gonna want to, I should have done this more steppily, but this is just the way I think, kind of random. So after you are ready, after the 15 minutes, you pull that off, and then you just wipe away whatever is left. And as you can see, that wipes away really cleanly. The EMLA is a little greasier. Then I'll take my second, if I can find it, my second alcohol swab. See, the way I do it, I have 2. So one for this, the bag, and one for doing the fluids, or doing the injection. So then I'll take that, and I'll just wipe away any excess cream, because at the end of the day, you don't want to leave the cream on too long, and taking any excess off will just help over time. You don't want to leave it on all the time, too long, more than an hour or 2. You can leave it up to 5 hours, they say, and this will stay numb even after you wipe it. You don't worry that I've taken it off and wiped it. You think that it's not going to be numb anymore. It's still going to be numb for quite some time. Now, I don't have my pet. She's resting over there, but I'll just show you briefly what you want to do. I will use a pillow, just because that's what I have right here. So say this is the skin. So this is your little spot that you had there. you're going to want to tent the skin. So usually it's behind the shoulder blades, or anywhere really down the spine. You can do it to the sides. You want to stay away from anywhere that doesn't have a lot of extra skin. But your vet should tell you exactly where, and there's a lot of videos online about doing that. So you'd want to tent, basically, it's hard to do here, but if you take your hand like that, you'll see there's a little tenting there. So that's where you want to put the needle in, and you want to go in line with the spine. You don't want to go down, you don't want to go up. And you also want to, you'll notice on here, if we can focus on there, not really, but there is an angle on that needle. You want the needle opening facing up. I don't know why, that's what they told me when I first learned how to do this. So you're going to want to go like this, tent the skin. Oh, before you do that, you want to prime it. So you want to make sure even though you've already primed it, you want to make sure there's a little bit. Okay, now you know, and then you hold this. You hold this up high, not low, just higher if you can. I put it against my chin sometimes, or level. Anyway, then you want to tent your skin like that, and slowly just push it in like that. You may feel a little, not a pop, but like feeling it go through the skin. That's good. People say do it really quickly. Doesn't really matter. When you're using the numbing cream, you can go slower if you want. The key is to have the skin here tented up, so you're not going into the skin here and then hitting the skin again. So now you're in this empty space that dogs have, that people don't have, in between their skin and, say, the rest of their ligaments, bones, and all that. So once you do that, then you're going to want to see, now I have free range here. I can move around, and I'm not going to be jabbing the needle every time I move. So then you're just going to want to put some pressure on. And I like to look at the line. I will often take a flashlight in with me. I'll go into the room, have the room dark, so they've already been resting. My doggy has been resting. That way, you're doing it at a resting time. It's always the best, just for their own mental space. Then you're just going to want to slowly push in, and you'll feel with the 23 gauge, you'll feel resistance, which is fine. You basically want to go about 1 milliliter every 2 to 3 seconds. Not too fast. If you have a higher gauge, you'll a lower gauge, higher gauge. If you have like a 21 gauge, that'll go a lot quicker. Even though it can go quicker with the 21, I like to go fairly slow, just to let the pet's system adjust to the fluid as it's coming in. You don't want to go too fast, especially for a pet that's new to the fluids. Their skin is not going to be super elastic in the voids there. It will be, but not used to fluids. So you just want to go fairly slow. And obviously you won't see this liquid coming out. This is not a pet, so this is coming through here. But you might start seeing a little bubbles, little bulge forming. That's completely normal, and it's normal for that bulge to stay for an hour or two. On my girl, the bulge will move because I'm giving her 200 mils. You will feel it go towards under the rib cage, usually down to the side of their body. Usually that's where it'll rest after it's been in there for a little while. Now, if you're doing more than one syringe, you're going to want to leave the needle in. This is the most important, not most important, it's an important part, as most of the points are. So when this is done, and I've done all this fluids, all the fluids, and you're going to want to go with still a little bit of fluid left. Okay, so you're not going to want to push all the way out, because then you're going to get some air in there. So when there's still a little bit of fluid left, you're going to want to turn this, take that out, and you'll see that there's a little bit of air there. Now, if you just let that go down towards a lower point of gravity, you will see that the air will go out and it'll start dripping a bit. That's what you want. You want it to be dripping a bit with that fluid. You'll take your cap from the new one. If I had a new one here and I had a cap, I would take the cap off the new one, and then I put it on my old one, which I just did. Then I take the new syringe, and I would make sure the air is out, and I would just let the two fluids kind of marry there, if you will. And as you're doing the little drops, you just put it in like that and spin it. And you'll notice there's no air in there. So then you're going to want to do your next syringe. That way you don't have to put the needle in. You're using the same needle. You use the same needle for as many syringes as you want. Then when you're done that, and repeat that if there's more than one syringe, once you're done, you'll put down the syringe, just pull it out, and just hold that for 30 seconds. And like I mentioned, with the 30 or 23 gauge, very little blood will come out, or fluids a little bit. And I do generally in the same spot every day, and I've been doing that for years, and there's no problem. People worry about having scar tissue form. I haven't really noticed that. There's a little bit. It's a little thick, but it's not a problem. My pet has never experienced, as far as I know, any discomfort from doing it in the same area. I actually tried changing it up in different spots, and it didn't work out. She did not like. I tried down in the hip, and that was painful for her. There's just not as much loose skin there. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments if I can figure out how to get notifications from that. Again, this is the syringe method. You can always use the bag and drip method that your vet tells you. That's fine. I just find that with the syringe method, it's more accurate. You can get right to the millimeter. And my biggest fear with the bag method is a lot of times I'm doing this at night or when I'm tired. My biggest fear is falling asleep. And I have fallen asleep doing the syringe method, but guess what? When you fall asleep and you let go of this, the fluids stop going into your pet. So you don't have to worry about doing too much fluids with this method. It's very precise. If you have a larger pet, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You're gonna have maybe 4, 5, 6 of these. Might be better to just do the bag method, but with the bag method, you have to stay awake because that fluid will continue until you turn that little knob off. So thanks for watching. Sorry, it's kind of rambling on. That's just kind of where my thought process goes. And best of luck with everything. I know it seems like a lot. It really is only a few steps, and it's pretty easy. And believe me, your pet will get used to it. You may, they will sense your feelings as well, as you already know. So the more it's just something you do, the more it's just something you do, and your pet will go along with that. All right, thanks very much for watching, and best of luck.